Hello and welcome to Reaction Shots for November. I'm very honored to have a very special guest along with me. Well, here's Huber, obviously, co-host extraordinaire. But Inkoo Kang, hello.
Hi.
Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Great. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm very excited to have you here.
My job is I'm a TV critic at THR, The Hollywood Reporter. And for fun, I guess, I am co-hosting a podcast called All About Almodóvar. We call it, I think the log line is something like an introduction to loving the films of Pedro Almodóvar. It basically arose because I was watching movies with my friend Daniel, and he told me that he had never seen any Almodóvar film, and Almodóvar is my favorite director. And I was like, why don't I take you through just like the best of his work, and then we'll make a podcast about it. So that's what that is.
I love that.
That's awesome. Me.
And it was actually this theme that we're doing this month, Bong Joon Ho films, was your idea. You and I were discussing over email what would be a good theme, and you suggested this, and I just thought it was a very good call. And you had an essay included on the Parasite DVD that you wrote, which I just learned, and I'm very impressed by.
Yes. I think Criterion was like, do you want to write like the essay for our Parasite issue? And I was like, why are you like literally asking like a yes or no from me? Like, what is this? Anyway, that's what happened. But I think before that, like a year ago, I wrote like a pretty large overview of Bong Joon Ho's entire work, his entire filmography that's on Slate. And basically it's sort of talking about like why he's such an interesting filmmaker, especially from an American point of view, because he likes to really take the genre of like the American blockbuster and remake it into like his own very twisted sensibility. And also just like the other stuff that he's so good at, which I guess we'll talk about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's in filling in the gaps I had in my in his work for this episode, and I'm still missing Barking Dogs Never Bite. I haven't seen that one, but I watched Okja, The Host, and Memories of Murder, which I hadn't seen any of those yet, and I watched them all the last couple of days, and my God, like every single one of his films, except maybe one, is just a 10 out of 10.
I know which one you're talking about.
I think
by the way,
this
is not milk. I know it looks like it's milk and it looks fucking gross. I say that because I hate milk. But I'm actually drinking like a Korean rice drink on the occasion of our Bong Joon Ho discussion.
Yeah, very thematic. Well, before we just spring into the theme, because we're all chomping at the bit, I could tell. We'll talk about what we've liked lately that's not Bong Joon Ho. Huber, what have you seen lately that you liked or that you hated? I always say what have you liked lately, but invariably there's one that's like garbage.
Dude, October was like the best October of my life. I watched so many horror movies. Every night I was watching so much horror. It was like the most I've ever watched in an October. I want to first give a shout out to Cairo. It's called Pulse, the English translation, so it's a Japanese film.
Yeah.
It was remade a few years later with Veronica Mars and Damon Salvatore from Veronica Mars and Vampire Diaries. I have not seen the remake, but it looks horrible.
Yeah.
But the original, this is now one of my all-time favorite horror movies.
Whoa.
Super low budget, super grimy, but prophetic. It was made in like the early 2000s, and it's all about lonely ghosts and like technology and the internet just consuming you. Really, really good movie. I cannot recommend this enough.
Sounds like Serial Experiments Lane or something.
Just really lonely, really dark, bleak, really low budget, like it doesn't have a Hollywood sheen. Like it was made after Ringu, but Ringu.
The
'cause I
movie about
rewatched
my
that.
sister.
What's up?
The movie about my sister, where Inkoo and Ringu, obviously.
Oh,
Yeah, like that was made earlier, and I always remember it being like really hard, like hard edged. But rewatching that, I was like, after Cairo, I was like, wow, even The Ring is like has that Hollywood budget and like sheen to it. Even the Japanese original version. But Cairo, it was grimy. It was so good. Highly, highly, highly recommend. So
I don't know why I thought of this. Have you seen, what's it called? 3 Stories, maybe? The horror triptych with where Takashi Miike did one. It's called
3 Extremes or something.
Yeah, I don't
3
remember
Sisters,
what it's called.
3 Extremes. I forget.
3 Extremes. That's what it
3
is. Yeah,
Extremes. Yeah.
yeah. I remember there was a really scary ghost in that one that gave me Ring vibes, but grodier.
Yeah.
So that.
Then another one, which is a freaking 11 out of 10. This is a newer one. Possum.
Oh, I heard about this.
Oh,
I heard it's real messed up.
this will give you nightmares. Visually, content-wise, it deals with abuse and like I don't want to. This is one where you don't want to know a lot going in. But it's a really quiet film, really meditative, and just has some really messed up, freaky imagery. And the story's really awesome. It's about abuse and this like father and son, and it's hard. It's heavy. It's a heavy one. It's very depressing. Possum, very very depressing one, but will make you think for sure.
Anything else?
Like 20 other ones, but we don't have time.
We don't have time.
I watched so
Inkoo?
many.
Have you liked anything lately?
I'm trying to see if I can out Bleak Huber, and I feel like I can't. So let me go in like the opposite direction. I actually only watched one horror movie in October. I know, shame on me. It's one that like a lot of people will have already seen, Vampire's Kiss, but I had not seen it.
Dude.
in something.
I love that movie.
I hadn't seen it in like 10 years, and I think like the last time I saw it, I was either at like the New Beverly Cinema or like Cine Family in New York. It was like a big theatrical crowd. It was perfect. Just like the kind of movie where like you're laughing, like you're guffawing like every 5 minutes. So it basically stars like a very young Nicolas Cage, although he doesn't actually look very young. And he believes that he has been turned into a vampire, but like it's not actually clear if he has turned into a vampire. Also ends like quite bleak. But I'm not going to like try to compete with Huber. So
I don't know. Having a psychiatric appointment with the corner of a building is pretty good.
Yes, there's also a scene. I mean, like the movie is great because like Nicolas Cage is at like a 12 like the entire time in the movie.
My God.
There's like one scene where he goes through like the entire alphabet while he's like yelling at the psychiatrist. And it was so funny. I made like my friend rewind the whole thing just so that like we could go through like the alphabet again. On a completely different note, I have been really into The Crown. This is
I've heard
because
that's good.
Oh, it's so good.
I never really liked it before. I saw like the first season. I was like really bored. I was like, who the fuck cares about the fucking royal family? And then I decided to assign myself to review like the 4th season. So I caught up on 2 and 3 and then 4. And I don't know. I guess like they're interesting now. And also Princess Diana is one of those people that I always thought, like, what does she have going on? And then I realized she has so much going on, including apparently in her 30s, pushing her stepmother down a flight of stairs, which is a thing that like not only happened, but there was like an eyewitness to it.
Ew.
Like that woman is fascinating.
Whoa. I haven't seen those newer
Universally
seasons, but I
beloved
remember
Princess
the fog one. Or the like
oh yeah, that was
smoggy-
wild.
Yeah, that's one of the best episodes of TV ever. It just like has such a lasting impact on me.
Oh,
Isn't,
but the craziest thing about season 4 is that you get Princess Diana, which is great, but also Gillian Anderson plays Margaret Thatcher, and at first I was like my brain just like broke I had to turn it off because my brain like literally could not process Scully as Margaret Thatcher. And then like I watched a little bit more and then like it clicked and I was like, holy shit, this fucking performance. So
yeah, when I first saw her like real accent or whatever, like that she's got this British accent or whatever, Gillian Anderson, kind of blew my mind. Or it's like faux British, I don't know.
I think she grew up in England until she was like 11.
Yeah.
And then she moved to Michigan or something.
Yeah. And it's like a mixture of those. And it's just like, what a fascinating dialect you have. Olivia Colman is in that now, right?
Yep.
Yes. She's the
Love
queen.
Love her.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you've liked recently?
Broadchurch hype.
Honestly, I feel like I just recommended like a solid 42 hours of content.
That's true.
Like, you guys are set.
You met the quota. Well,
dude, I gotta subscribe to that philosophy. One huge recommendation. Get back to me in a month.
Yeah, you gotta watch Patriot, Huber. As far as horror movies go, I don't remember if I talked about this last time. I saw In the Mouth of Madness, and I'd never seen that one, and I really enjoyed it. It's pretty ridiculous, but I liked it.
Ian, we have so many conversations outside of the podcast. I forget if we were talking about it on the show or outside of.
I never remember. I was trying to remember if I talked about seeing Tenet in the show or just if I was just whining about it in real life. Because I went to a drive-in and I don't remember when that was because time is meaningless.
You saw it?
Yeah, it's not very good.
Oh, bummer.
I don't know. I feel like people are really sensitive about spoilers on Tenet, but
Definitely.
it's very Christopher Nolan, and it's very fine.
Okay.
Like
part of the Nolan experience is the IMAX.
Again. I mean, I got a 4K TV now, so probably I'll rent it in December when it comes out for home screens, and I'll see it again and see if I like it more. But I feel like it's pretty predictable, and it just kind of whatever. But I did see two things I finished just recently, shows. I finished Bly Manor, Huber.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm standing the relationship in that so hard.
Yes. Have you seen the show You with her?
No.
It is beautifully creepy as hell, and
Really?
she's in it, and she's amazing.
Is this the Victoria actress that you're talking about?
Yeah, Padretti or
Yeah.
Is she Danny in Bly? That's who we're talking about?
Yep.
The blonde?
Yeah.
Who got veneers or something this season? Her mouth is different.
Veneers hype.
Veneers hype. Jamie, I really like her. The other
Yeah.
part.
Did you?
But yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts on it, please.
I liked it a lot. I think it's interesting because it's not scary, and I'm a baby. Once I got past the first couple of ghosts, I was like, all right, we're fine.
Yeah.
And then you realize that it's scary in a much, much more scary and real way because it's about basically terminal illness and losing loved ones, which Huber and I, unfortunately, are both all too familiar with. I've lost my parents and Huber lost a brother recently, and it's not great. And so the show really resonated on that level, but then also just the fear, and I don't want to get into specifics really, but the fear of having a terminal illness and living with one is just terrifying to me. So yeah, it's really affecting that show for that reason, and it's just really well shot and stuff. The other one I just finished the other day, and I'm gaga for it, is the Queen's Gambit. Have either of you seen that?
Number one on my list. As soon as I get a minute, I'm gonna watch it. Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad. I don't want to oversell it for people. Maybe it just hit me exactly where I live, but I just think it's beautifully shot, well directed, well acted. The editing is fantastic. Anya Taylor-Joy is just a joy.
Is there a lot of chess?
There's a good amount of chess.
There better be. I don't like getting into a baseball show or a show about something, and then there's barely any of that thing. I want to see some epic chess matches.
There you will. My friend Jason, who's a big chess person, wished there were more chess, but you know, even he was like, I understand that they're also making like a show for
Okay. Good to know.
like,
Good preface.
and then he linked me like a breakdown of one of the games in the show. That's like 35 straight minutes of someone just going through all the moves.
Dude,
and I was
awesome.
fascinated by it, but
So cool.
anyway, whatever. Let's talk about Bong Joon Ho. Sorry. All right. So, feature films by Bong Joon Ho. He's also done like a shocking number of short films. But Parasite, Mother, Snowpiercer, Okja, The Host, Memories of Murder, Barking Dogs Never Bite. I think that's all of them.
Not that many.
But they're all winners except
Stanley
for maybe
Kubrick
one.
over here.
Well, that's the thing is someone said this later, but they were saying that they think that Bong Joon Ho and Denis Villeneuve might be like the new It guys.
Oh, easily. I would 100%
Jorgen Moore
agree.
said that, and I kind of agree too. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, first off, I asked the patrons, patreon.com/easyallies, what their favorite film by Bong Joon Ho is, and usually I save this to the end. But do you both have a favorite? Ingrid,
I absolutely have a favorite.
What's your favorite? Because I have a favorite too.
My favorite is Mother.
Me too, dude. Yeah. Mother is so good.
I think Mother is like quite possibly the scariest of his movies.
Yeah.
Wait, should we explain what Mother is, or?
Because I was studying up, for this episode, and I love Mother so much, and then I was like, I had a moment before we started filming where I was just like, shit, like, how do we talk about this movie without ruining it? Like, is there a way? I'm sure we could find a way. I feel like we should try not to spoil it, but yeah. Tell us about Mother. What do you think of Mother?
Wait, Huber, have you seen Mother?
I've seen Mother, but like when it came out,
yeah, I saw
all these,
when it came out.
yeah, all these Bong Joon-ho movies I've seen so long ago. My friend David Kwan, shout out to my friend David Kwan, showed me all the good movies when I was in high school. I like wasn't as into movies in high school as I am now, and this guy was just so ahead of the curve with everything. Showed me. We were talking about The Wailing a while ago, Ian. We're always talking about it, but he like that director's early movies he would show me.
Yeah.
So he showed me like Memories of a Murder, The Host. So I'm a little rusty, but yes, I've seen Mother.
Okay. So Mother is basically a crime procedural, like at its heart. You have this like elderly woman, she's like maybe 60, maybe 55. She has a son who is developmentally disabled. Like, she lives in this like tiny town, and everyone knows that he is just sort of like the butt of all jokes, and whenever he goes in the village, like, people make fun of him because of his disability. And basically he gets accused of murdering this girl, this like high school girl who is discovered to be dead, and she is convinced that the police are basically pinning it on her son because he is not able to defend himself. And so what they end up doing, so like, she is pretty poor. She's only like working part-time. She's like selling herbs or something like super traditionally Korean.
Yeah.
And so basically because she can't really afford like a defense attorney who is competent, she goes in search and like asks people questions and tries to figure out what actually happened to the girl and like what happened to her son. And basically, I obviously I don't want to tell you like the ending, but like I think the movie is really good because it shows you like both like how great maternal love can be and also like how dangerous maternal love can be.
I think that's the perfect way to say it. And like the lengths to which people will go. Yeah. And I was just watching before we filmed this, there are a few decent videos about this movie on YouTube. Every Frame of Painting did one, and a few other channels did some interesting breakdowns. And they talk a lot about like that a lot of things are shot in profile in this, and Bong Joon Ho does that in a lot of his movies too, but especially this one. And interesting use of lenses and aspect ratio and stuff, which is really cool, but it's all done so meticulously. And I mean, that's a through line. I think that's going to come up a lot in this episode, is just like he is meticulous and he is a planner. He's like Hitchcock in that way, like storyboards everything meticulously. But it shows because there are so many things in all of his movies, and Mother especially, and Parasite probably after that, but like a throwaway line like early in the movie, or like thematic placement of the hands and stuff like that, like is like a subconscious nod at the truth. It's phenomenal. Mother is so good. But yeah, like you said, we can't really say much more about the story without spoiling it. But I will say, like, it's really interesting having gone through them in the order that I have, because Mother was my first, and then Snowpiercer, and then Parasite, and then Okja, the host of Memories of Murder. That's the order I saw them in. And seeing them in that order is really fascinating, because Memories of Murder is one of his earlier ones, but you can see like the through lines from that one that permeate to this day, like in all of his stuff. Not just that it stars the same dude that's in like 4 of his movies, but who's great. I love him. But yeah, like the police in Memories of Murder just picking a guy and beating up on him to make him confess and stuff. One of my favorite things about Memories of Murder is the main characters are not, and this is true of all of his movies, the main characters are kind of not sympathetic always. They're not, he doesn't paint his characters broadly, and like he doesn't paint them so that you'll like them necessarily all the time. Like he gives you things to disagree about, to disagree with about them, which I really like a lot.
I think in my Criterion essay, I wrote about like how one of his through lines is basically to have these like cinematic tropes who actually don't get to quite fulfill their destiny. So like in The Host, you have like a father whose daughter is taken, but you know what? He doesn't really like get her ultimately like 100% back. If you go to something like Parasite, like all you want is sort of like that familial reunion. And of course, that's the thing that's like denied the most. I don't know, like in Snowpiercer, like your Captain America hero is like a baby cannibal.
And just perpetuating, you know, the system. Yeah. I agree completely. And like, what I love about all these movies, and like, because I asked the patrons, and we'll get into it in a minute, but like what a common thread is, and everybody had a lot of different answers, but to me, like, it's definitely, there's kind of like we're all cogs in a machine that's way bigger than all of all of us, and we're just like victims of life, kind of, in a strange way.
And victims of institutions.
Yeah.
There's just like no faith in the police or the government or
America or
I mean,
the meat industry.
Okja, dude, I can't I don't want to watch it.
Have you not seen it?
No. Sometimes like animal
I loved it.
Abuse / like when animals are hurt, it sometimes hurts me more than when humans are hurting.
Humans are trash. Yeah.
Okja, really
I think you could do it.
Okay.
Similar to, you know my prevalent theory about movie trailers for dog movies, how they have to show the ending.
Yeah.
Because people want to know going in if they're getting a dog lives or dog dies movie.
Yeah, there's like a website called that, right? Like, does the dog die?
Yeah. Does the dog die? That's so good.
That's great. I make use of Where's the Jump. That's a fun website that tells you how many jump scares are in a movie, because I don't like jump scares.
Hello.
Okja, I think you could handle, Huber. It definitely like confronts the darkness.
Cool.
But
Cool.
But I think the thing that I really like about Okja is that, like, yeah, it's about factory farming, but I think on another level, it's also sort of just about, like, the multinational corporations of America and how they have, like, this really distorted effect on the lives of people all around the world in ways that, like, they just can't conceive of. And so if someone from those countries decides that they want to fight back against the American corporations, or like that uphill battle that they have to fight, it's about factory farming, but it's not just about factory farming. It's about a lot of other things.
that movie, it maybe tackles it the most head on, but like these themes kind of show up in a few ways in his like capitalism or like anti-institutionalism sort of stuff, or not even anti-institutionalism always, but like where am I in this institution kind of stuff.
Can you guys hear my dog snoring? I can't tell if that's like...
I can't, but I wish I could.
Oh, okay.
That's
It got really loud for like a brief second, and I was like, oh no, am I ruining the podcast?
I love a good dog snore. But yeah, I asked our patrons what their favorite movies are, so I'll just read through some of these. If something springs an idea in either of you, just let me know.
Wait, we didn't get Hubert's favorite.
Oh yeah, what's your favorite, Hubert?
It's been so long, but it's been like a decade, but Memories of a Murder for sure. But I would need to rewatch it to like confirm. But that genre and that style of movie is like my favorite.
Bleak.
Bleak.
Yeah, Blake.
Solving a murder. Just love it.
Well, that's what I love about that movie is, because I just watched it for the first time, like, I don't know, a couple of days ago. But I want to talk about the ending.
We gotta have like reaction shots overtime or something.
Yeah,
like
spoiler mode. Yeah. Well, we actually have a show called Spoiler Mode, but yeah, but without getting too specific, hopefully, Memories of a Murder is very interesting because I would definitely put it into the pile of one of my favorite sub genres in cinema, which is perfect last shots. And like every single one of the movies I'm thinking of has almost the same last shot. It's just somebody's face realizing something or like processing something, new information. My favorite is probably The Long Good Friday, but yeah, the last shot of this movie is so cool in a really simple way. It's not like some epic whatever. Yeah. I'm overselling it. But just like what it means and how you can interpret it a few different ways is very cool. Anyway, Parta Cancor says it's either Parasite or Memories of Murder depending on the day, but right now I'd say Parasite has a slight lead. Happy Gaming's favorite film is Parasite as well, but Snowpiercer is the one that introduced them to the director, and they fell in love with his work. Takamoto Hagu says The Host. It was the first movie I saw from him and discovered a signature mix of comedy and suspense. I'd like to pause right there and say, yeah, he mixes comedy oftentimes at times you just don't see coming. A few people talked about the scene in The Host where the family is like trying to outgrieve each other.
Yes.
In front of the picture of the daughter, and it's just like, what?
I love that scene. It's so like good. The first movie I ever saw was The Host, and I went in, and I was like, in grad school, I was like at this like giant movie. Oh, I was at UCLA. Sorry, you guys are LA dudes.
Yeah.
I was like in Melvin Hall, just like waiting for the movie to start. And at first, I was like, this is fine. And then we got to that scene where all of the family just starts crying hysterically, and like their grief is so overwhelming that it just becomes weirdly funny. And then I couldn't believe that I was laughing at this like family that was in so much pain. And I was like, oh, this is an amazing film. Like this director wants me to like laugh at like the mourning of this family in a way that like doesn't at all detract away from how bad you feel for them, which is like an amazing feat. And then you sort of like take a step back and you're sort of like, what kind of twisted ass mind would think of this, where they want the audience to like laugh at this grieving family. And then I was like, oh, I'm sold. I love this movie.
And it's like one of his strongest attributes, I think, as a filmmaker, is his ability to just endear you to these characters in such a way that like you can disagree with what they're doing. You could even think they're like wrong or bad. You can laugh at them in their moment of grief and still like love them and like want good things for them, or at least like be interested in them. Like the beginning of Parasite to me is such a sterling example of this, where it's just like you are immediately in with this family. Like they're in this basement apartment and like and they're eating, and you could just see that they care for each other, but you also see how like savvy they are and like ruthless they are kind of, but how funny they are, and like and all the themes are being set up at the same time. Oh god, I'm fangirling.
What I love about that movie, especially that like beginning that you were talking about, is how delusional they are about like the righteousness of what they're doing, because they can't admit it to themselves that what they're doing is actually bad. But like it also plays upon the audience's assumption that like what they're doing is not that bad, right? Like, and I think that one of the things that Bong is really good at is that he gets you to sort of like, what do I want to say? He gets you to sympathize with characters that you know you shouldn't sympathize with.
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. He like, he does that while also like introducing the theme. And like it's weird because he never hits you over the head with the themes, but then once you know what the theme is, like with Parasite, once you know what the movie's about, it's just oozing off of every inch, every frame of that movie is about, you know, that kind of like class structure and various elements. And it's just like, you look back at your first viewing and you're like, how was I not seeing this? right from the start. Swan.
Love the mom in that.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
She's so like, she maybe was like the creepiest character to me, the mom, because she's just so like gonna make it happen, like dedicated. I don't know, not creepy. Creepy's the wrong word, but like intense maybe. I don't know. Swan says, while I have enjoyed all his movies, Parasite has a special place in my heart. I think it is a must-watch for anyone trying to gain insight into wealth inequality. The movie is also crafted with an incredible attention to detail and symbolism. Tokyo Slim, you might be noticing a theme here, also mentions Parasite as their favorite. This is probably his favorite film of the decade. I can't really put into words in the time I have to write this why it's so special, but the whole film is impeccably assembled. I've said this half seriously before, but it's the best Joker origin story I've ever seen. Well, I don't think it was intended to be that. The undertones and thematic elements are there, like the Snowpiercer, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory connections, if you're into that kind of thing. That's a YouTube video I would watch, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Snowpiercer. I can see the connections in my mind, but
with most movies, especially like complex, crafted ones, I need to see Parasite a second time.
Yeah,
because it like there are so many jarring parts, like the person like living in the walls and that whole like subplot was just, it was like so much at the time where I was like, how do I feel right now? Like I always ask myself, like what am I feeling? And I feel like his movies, like there's no clear cut way to feel. It's all kind of in the pot being stirred together.
Well, and that's one of the aspects that I think make his movies so good, is that they're I mean, we've talked about this before, Huber, but like the interactivity of quality cinema, you know, where it's like it makes you a participant and like because you have to think.
Yeah.
It's not just coming in. Like, it was interesting, Inkoo, earlier you said that he makes he takes like American blockbuster style movies and then makes them like good, for lack of a better word. But like, it is funny that he takes like those kinds of tropes and spins them on their head. And with Parasite, it was funny because it got overhyped for me, for sure. Like, before I saw it, everyone was like, it's the greatest movie ever made. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing. So when I saw it, and also I intentionally didn't want to know anything about it, and knowing like about the host and stuff, and it's called Parasite, I kept expecting it to be some kind of like horror thriller situation just from that, you know? So it's one of those movies where I like each day that goes by, I appreciate it more, you know? Like, right when I got out of it, I was like, yeah, it was good. You know,
Same.
Now I'm like, oh no, wait, that movie's a masterpiece. Wait a minute.
I want to pick up on something that Huber was saying about like how like when he got to like the basement family, he felt really overwhelmed. Yeah. I think one of the things that you see over and over in his work, to the extent where it's like a little bit too formulaic for me now, having gone through all of his stuff, is that he will always give you like sort of like the everyman, and then whatever he's fighting against. But he will also always give you someone who is like under the position of the everyman. And so you have like in Parasite, the poor family. But then there's also like a family that is like in so much gambling debt that they actually have to like hide out in someone's house and basically disappear from the face of the earth. And what Bong really loves to do is, I think, challenge your ready identification with the protagonist. By which I mean, in this case, you watch Parasite, immediately you're taught to identify with the main characters, the poor family. But then they end up doing all of these things and have so little sympathy for the people who are under them that they feel in competition with, that like you understand where they're coming from, but you also sort of have to admit to yourself like, oh, like, these are really bad people.
Yeah.
Even something like Mother. I think like Mother is so tragic because the woman who is the main character is a working class woman. She has like barely anything to her name. She is trying to help out like this, her son who has an intellectual disability. And yet she finds out slowly that like the girl who was murdered has like her own like whole other level like set of problems. And the question sort of becomes like, if you are constantly putting yourself in the position of the underdog, and then you see someone, or you are forced to confront someone who has even less privilege than you, like, what do you do with that? And I think with Bong, what he's really interested in is sort of exploring how the everyman like has trouble being sympathetic for people who are beneath him in the social hierarchy, because he's constantly looking at the people who have more than he does, that like he can't really perceive his own relative privilege in like the way that it needs to be seen. Like, I think that's what's so great about Parasite, and sort of like all of the crazy, terrible stuff that happens. And so it really resists this very simple binary between the haves and the have-nots. And I think that's what's really great about Bong's work, who, by the way, was like, when he was in college, a sociology student. Like, he definitely went in
also,
with
like,
all
super broke, right?
Yeah, but like
not making a lot of money until Memories of Murder hit, if I understand
yes,
correctly.
I think he worked in like the Korean film industry for like a solid 10 years, making like very little money, and then he was like, I'm gonna make my own film. Anyway, I think there's just like a depth to his social analysis or his social commentary that I think is really underappreciated. Except in Snowpiercer, which I hate because it's dumb.
That's what I was just gonna say. That's so funny you said that, because I was gonna say, with your beautiful analysis right there, that was amazing. That makes me want to rewatch Snowpiercer, taking that knowledge into it. But maybe it's just too on the nose in Snowpiercer? Or...
I feel like he should not adapt material from other people. Because I think that's the only one where he adapted, and I feel like it's like his worst movie by far.
He's got the opposite of the Tarantino problem.
Wait, what's Tarantino's worst film by that measure?
Oh, I just think that Jackie Brown is better is one of his better ones. But besides Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, I guess. A thought occurred to me that I don't know if I think this. Maybe I do. I want to know what you guys think of this theory that I've had. That Bong Joon Ho movies are almost akin to Cormac McCarthy books in the sense that Cormac McCarthy obviously like way further down the road with this kind of a theory, but like Blood Meridian or No Country for Old Men, like the characters aren't even like characters almost. They're like metaphysical archetypes for an idea. Like the characters in No Country for Old Men are like, this is good and evil and this is humans, like to put it really simply. Or Blood Meridian is like, this guy's violence and this guy is greed and this guy is, you know. And so it's like kind of funny, like you were saying, Inkoo, about how he makes you sympathize with what you think are the protagonists, only to realize like, and this happens in almost all his movies. It's all, yeah, like you said, almost formulaic, but like you realize halfway through, it's just like, well, shit, is this even the protagonist? Like, are these people heroes? Like, are they good? Like, or are they just examples put here to show me the flaws inherent in the system? Like, you know, the problems that capitalism has, or the police department has, or the fraught nature of motherhood. I don't know. Maybe this theory doesn't have.
The performances are so good that like I really feel like it's hard to say that they're not characters.
Sure. Like
all of those performances, even Barking Dogs Don't Bite, like they feel so lived in. I think very true. Especially because Song Kang-ho. I'm always like very used to saying it in Korean in my head. The actor who has starred in Memories of Murder and The Host and Snowpiercer and Parasite, I think he has like such a rumpled quality to him that like he just feels like much more than a symbol. Maybe Hubert will disagree with me.
I think I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree. I think though maybe the wall liver kind of has what you're talking about, Ian.
He does come in. He's sort of emblematic. He's kind of like a symbol more than a man.
That's maybe possibly like the vibe I got with that. But
even like the thing I really love about that relationship, like the Cellar couple, is that when I was going through all of his work, I realized that he didn't have any romance like in his genres, because one thing that we've talked about is he's so good at melding these different genres, and he doesn't have a romantic film. I actually asked him about this and he was like, no, I love romance. I'm going to make a romance very soon, which we'll see. But I think that I was like a little bit afraid of like what his like crazy twisted brain would come up with in terms of a romance. And then you kind of like get like a glimpse of it with that Cellar couple where, you know, like, okay, like the guy sort of like has gone crazy because he's in effect in solitary confinement. But like the way that like she brings him food, or like the way that like they've obviously had like a lot of sex, and the way that like he really just like loves it when she is like doing these jokey renditions of like Kim Jong-un or whatever. Like you can tell like this is like a couple that like really loved each other. Like their marriage is not just duty. Like their marriage is like a real marriage, even though they only get to see each other like, I don't know, like once a week or whatever.
It's an interesting, I hadn't really thought about this, but yeah, you're totally right. Like romance is not present, but love is like the driving force of many of them, like The Host, Okja, Mother, Parasite. Like characters' unbreakable love is like the only constant like
family
through line. What?
Oh, I said family.
Family, yeah. Family between a girl and her pig, or a mother and child. Yeah, he deals with family, which I guess is just another institution. Whoa. Varun Kachwaha says that his favorite's got to be Memories of Murder. It captivates from beginning to end. The dichotomy of village cop who might appear out of his depth, contrasted against the city hotshot know-it-all, really helps the actors play off each other and keep it and helps them shine. The film permeates suspense. Yeah,
love it.
Well, and that's something I think there is in every frame of painting about the ensemble shot, shooting style and blocking choices of Memories of Murder. And that's something I really love about Bong Joon Ho movies is like he doesn't get overcomplicated with shooting coverage or anything like that. He just lets the actors act and live in these roles. And like you said, Inkoo, like the portrayals are so nuanced that I really love it. And like Memories of Murder is no different because like the city cop guy, the moment in that movie I love is the flip around, minor spoilers I guess, but like the flip around when, because we've been watching the local cop like beating witnesses and trying to get false confessions like the whole movie. So then later when the city cop kind of does the same thing, that turn and the moment that those two have, the kind of role reversal is just so interesting. And the way they play the scene, I really liked.
The really crazy thing is, at least when I interviewed Bong, he said that what he really likes to do when working with Song is to just like let them improvise because he's such a good improviser. And if you sort of consider like the precision of like his tonal hairpins, the fact that he lets his actors improvise like within that, I don't know how he does it. It's a fucking magic trick.
I didn't know that he allowed that at all.
Yes.
I can see it, but I'm amazed by it.
Can you imagine if Hitchcock let like Tippi Hedren improvise? Like it would never happen.
But I guess you see it in relationships like Werner Herzog and
Klaus Kinski.
Klaus Kinski, yeah, like that sort of like haywire energy mixed with like super like focused energy sometimes is the recipe for success. Or they try to shoot each other and eat shoes and all that kind of stuff. Zach Wojnar says Parasite was a film I knew nothing about when going in to see it, and I had no idea of any of the twists and turns it took, and completely on the edge of my seat even before things got gloriously out of hand. Likewise with Snowpiercer, even though it's comparatively more straightforward. Not sure if that was meant as a joke, straightforward, because it's literally on rails.
Oh,
let's talk about Snowpiercer. Let's get into it, because I also super hated it when I saw it in theaters, and now thinking back and having like done some reading and watched some other people's impressions of it, and of course Elise loves it. That's kind of why I wanted her to be here, because she loves Snowpiercer and I wanted someone to defend Snowpiercer. I'm kind of bummed I didn't have time to watch it again before this, because I wanted to give it another shake, because having seen all his other movies now, or almost all of them, I do wonder if I would find more in it.
Yeah, just the conversations we've had, his movies are so challenging. Like like you were saying, you're an active participant and not everything is clear cut, So I think a second viewing is almost essential for a lot of these movies.
Yeah. That said, though, Snowpiercer, like, even the fraught moments are pretty literal.
I remember being worse than hating it. I remember being indifferent. I was like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, with Snowpiercer.
A fate worse than death.
Yes. But, only saw it in the theater. I'd like to watch it again, for sure.
I feel like that precision that we were talking about and that's so admirable in him, it's not really there in his more American productions, or at least like when he's working with American actors, I find. Like Tilda Swinton and Snowpiercer and Okja. Like, I know that she's like a camp icon, or like for those performances.
She's definitely big.
It's too big. Like, it's too overwhelming. Or like Jake Gyllenhaal in Okja. Like, I don't know what movie he's in, but like the rest of the movie is so sweet. And then he's just in doing this like weird Nightcrawler 2 routine. And I really, really hated it. And I think that, like, honestly, when he's working with English speaking actors. Like, he doesn't quite get like the performances that like the tonal control of like what he's going for like needs, and like that I so like about his work.
It's funny because it makes me wonder how he directs actors, because like Snowpiercer is a good example where there are a lot of moments where, like, the school teacher at one point, she's like singing and has like this almost orgasmic like rapture on her face while she's singing some. It's a little foggy, my memory. I haven't seen it in a while, but like moments like that seem really large. But then I think about how like active the faces of a lot of the other characters in a lot of the other movies are, and like some of the like slapstick comedy that happens. Like Memories of Murder has like literal slapstick comedy like people falling, people like kicking, like dive kicking people from off screen, but it just like fits in more.
Even
Whereas,
Mother, which is so somber, has like a bunch of like weird kicks and like jabs, but like it doesn't
starts
work.
with like a goddamn interpretive dance, like
yes, and ends with it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's just bookended by it. And yeah, you're right. I hadn't really thought of that, but there's something about, I wonder what that is. Like if there's something lost in translation, so to speak, there.
Also, like you can at me, whatever. I feel like Chris Evans was not like at that point in his career. He was like not the role. He was not the actor for that main role, because when he said that he eats babies, like I started laughing, and that was supposed to be like the emotional crux of the movie, and I was like, no, like no part of this is working for me. The only part that works is like Song Kang-ho playing like basically Han Solo, like dad Han Solo. So I guess Han Solo.
Well, but or the line where they say "in the whole wide train" and he's like "in the whole wide train." I'm like, oh my god, come on. But like people wouldn't say that. But yeah, the song, what's his name? I can't remember.
Song Kang-ho.
Yeah, and his daughter in Snowpiercer. It's like they're in a different movie. It's like the girl in Okja, where it's like in Okja she's in like a heartfelt PG-rated late 90s like Getting My Pet Back movie, and
she's
everybody else
E.T.
is in she's in E.T. And everyone else is in a hard R like late 2010s like blood comedy. And you're just like, what the shit is this movie? And Snowpiercer is kind of the same, where like those two are doing like a cool gritty version of this story, and then everyone else is just like American action movie, almost to the point where it makes me think, is it intentional? Like in Okja especially, I almost want to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he did it on purpose, and he's using American actors in the English speaking parts of the movie intentionally as like a weapon, because they're so insane that it almost feels like it's like making fun of that, like of America, and like as a stand-in for capitalism. I wonder. I mean, this is probably grasping at straws, but like,
I mean,
yes.
referencing Nightcrawler in the same sentence, it sounds pretty out of control.
Jake Gyllenhaal's doing like, well, by turns he does Nightcrawler, and then he'll suddenly be like an effete, like animal TV host. It's wild.
It's wild in a bad way.
Yeah, but yeah, I didn't hate it. Like I didn't Snowpiercer it. I think it's probably his second worst film by a fair margin. But
I'm gonna say third worst.
What's his second worst?
Barking Dogs.
Oh, see, I haven't seen that one.
Same.
It's
That's
very
his first, right?
Coen Brothers-y, yes, but like in
I could see that being
bad
his origin.
Coen Brothers-y way.
I could see that being his origin for sure.
The only really good thing about Barking Dogs is there's like a Duna Bay performance that's like very, very good.
Oh, cool. Also, I do like the title. It's a clever
cool
title.
I wonder what the Korean title is supposed to be.
Excuse me.
Oh, yes. It's Flanders Dog.
less good. That's
I
funny.
think it's
Usually,
based on like a French book or something. Oh, it's a satirical take on the 1872 novel A Dog of Flanders.
okay. Well, sure.
Also, the host in Korean is actually just called Monster. So it actually, the host Parasite doubling actually has like no real like meaning.
No, doesn't hold any well. Monster's a better title. Kind of.
Isn't that
yeah,
that
they're both good.
Canary movie?
Monsters.
Monsters.
Well, and then there's Monster also. There's a movie called Monster. But Monsters was that, like, it's sort of like Bly, where it's like, this isn't a monster alien movie, it's a love story.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what we were talking about.
Sorry.
Colt Smith likes Snowpiercer, but also Memories of Murder. Jorgen Moore likes Parasite. Morgan Mahala likes all of them. Parasite
Awesome.
and Mother. I'm just kind of speeding up because we're already at an hour almost. I asked our patrons what makes his films great, and I think that we've touched on many of the kind of ideas, but Happy Gaming says that he's got a keen understanding of characters, but moreover where characters come from and why that makes them feel things about their surroundings, each other, and the situation at hand. In Snowpiercer, it gives us a conscious feeling of rebellion. In Parasite, it gives us a stronger feeling of undermining those who don't appreciate what they have in the first place, because we see how hard a class works to use skills versus the others who do not. I think that's, yeah, like, he gives you such a good understanding of who a person is and their situation in all these movies that I really appreciate. And he does it in a way that isn't expositional, in a way that a lot of like other directors are not as good at, I think. Like, he'll do something really quickly. I mean, in that book, like Save the Cat or whatever, say what you will about it, but like he does little tiny subtle things that just like endear you to people really quickly, and I appreciate that. Also, a through line in his movies is, well, or at least in Memories of Murder and Mother, and the host, kind of, he definitely has a thing for like intellectually disabled or differently abled characters, and like showing that. What I appreciate about it is like he shows that they're more than meets the eye. Like, they're not just a broad strokes, just like they're not only their ability or disability, which I think is nice. It's humanizing.
Mm-hmm.
Memories of Murder maybe is the best example of that. Or Mother.
Even the host, like the dad has
Even the host,
a
yeah.
little bit of
I like how I love a good like tenacious protagonist who just like has to get it done and just won't stop. I love it.
But isn't that
Paracan-
what's great about like Bong's movies? Because like you admire the tenacity, but like sometimes they just like don't get there because
Right.
of XYZ.
Well, that's maybe I think you've hit the nail on the head of my favorite thing about his movies. And I mean, we were joking before about bleak movies, and I love bleak movies too. But like, I love a movie where like people don't get what they want. They realize what they wanted wasn't what they thought they wanted. They get it, but realize, oh wait, this sucks. Like, or they have to do something to get what they want that is way too far. You know, like all of his movies deal with that kind of outcome oftentimes, and I just, oh man, I love that. It resonates with me.
They're perfectly unneat. What's the opposite of neat?
Untidy.
Untidy.
Yeah, they're perfectly untidy. I feel like
Yeah.
they don't.
But
feel...
like you said before, in a Kubrick sort of way, where it's like, excuse me, everything is so controlled. Even the chaos is just like, yeah,
controlled chaos. That's even a better way
controlled
to describe
chaos. Yeah. I wonder if he's like just straight nihilist or what. He's probably an absurdist, because all reasonable people are. Paraconcore says, I really love his humor. He uses very subtle methods. We're talking about what makes his films great. He uses very subtle methods to bring laughter to a scene. For example, the morning scene in The Host that we talked about before. Takemoto Hagu says his movies are always serious social commentaries and have this weird sense of humor that comes at you from in at the most unusual moments. Right, and this is a take on this scene I hadn't realized myself, but maybe it's true. That it's funny how the family and the host is mourning, and then starts having like a competition of out mourning each other because they realize they're being like photographed. And that wasn't my read on that scene, but then I was like, oh, I wonder. Morgan Mahala, Bong Joon Ho does an amazing job of isolating an aspect of culture or society that is on track to get wildly out of hand. Capitalism, class divisions, factory farming all take stage in his movies. It is obvious to see what he is alluding to, and he does a great job of not becoming preachy about what needs to be done in each film. Rather, he directs the audience to think about the near future or potential for these issues to run away and become more and more out of hand. I enjoy that he makes the films a thought-provoking experience rather than a lesson that a visionary is trying to impart. I think that's a good point. Like, back to the active participant kind of notion is like, he's not talking down to you. He's trusting that you'll see what he's saying and draw your own conclusions by and large, I think. Except for maybe Snowpiercer. And Okja, maybe. Yeah. Jorgen Moore says his best movies tackle social issues like class or mental illness, or and they all have a major plot twist, but unlike Shyamalan, where his twists are almost parodies of themselves, Bongs have a purpose and push the movie over the edge. Varun Kuchwaha says, a common theme that makes his films great, so to answer this question and segue into the next, is atmosphere. His films have a way of drawing you in and immersing you with these characters and the world. I would also say he is incredible at using atmosphere for suspense. Like Hitchcock said, there's a distinct difference between suspense and surprise. Bong Joon Ho does this perfectly in just setting up layer after layer every scene, making the payoff so much sweeter. Parasite is a brilliant example of this. I like that quote, that there's a big difference between suspense and surprise, and I think that's my problem with most modern horror. This is just surprise and not suspense.
Makes me think of The Yellow Sea.
I feel like one thing that people don't talk about, even though it doesn't really make sense for people not to talk about, is that he's a really good genre filmmaker. If you just like talk about something from the point of a crime procedural or a monster movie, or like, I think like I've been arguing forever that like the first half of Parasite, basically until you get to the peach, is basically like a heist film where like you slowly bring in people and then you have to like execute this scam like perfectly, right? And so just from a genre perspective, he's really good at just like that pure like lizard brain pleasure of like, I know exactly like what the movie beats of this are going to be, and just like fulfilling those. And I think what makes Bong so great is that like on top of doing that, he's doing all of these like weird swerves and turns where he's like putting in a joke where like you don't expect one, or he's putting in like an action scene, but like the action scene, instead of like a gun, it's like a peach or you know, whatever. And so I think like he already has like that technical ability, and I think like his genius is just sort of like seeing, now that like you have like the skeleton perfect, like what can I add on top of this in order to make it both feel like something where you know exactly what to expect, and also to bring in a layer of surprise where like you don't even know what to expect.
I was trying to, as I was watching especially The Host and Memories of Murder, preparing for this, I was trying to decide, and I don't even know if maybe this is a useless question, but I was trying to decide if he's subverting these genres or completely adhering to them. Memories of Murder, especially because I was like, even Mother and The Host, though, like, I was trying to think, I'm like, is this a cop movie, or is this like, you know, a middle-age midlife crisis movie, like for Memories of Murder, or like is The Host a monster movie, or is it a family drama, or is it a family dramedy? You know, and I guess the answer is that like that's why they work so well, is that they're following all the rules of their genre, but just being interesting. they're just good. They're just good.
The best horror movies and monster movies are ones where you care about the characters.
Yeah. And that doesn't make them not horror movies. It makes them good horror movies.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think that was what I came to too, where I was just like, no, this is a police procedural, but it's just good. But yeah, the next question I asked was about common themes, because I think that all of his movies have some things in common. Paraconcours says that, you know, they all share social commentary. Like The Host is about how Americanism affects Korean culture and like capitalism and stuff. Okja is the meat industry. Snowpiercer and Parasite are inequality and class dynamics. Parasite is commonly seen as a conflict between rich and poor, and I think the majority of the think pieces around Parasite focus on the Park Kim family dynamic. However, I believe Bong's most critical commentary lies in the Kims versus the O's conflict, the basement versus semi-basement. Flip that. I agree, though. Like, and Huber, you kind of said it earlier. Like, when they introduce the man living in the sub-basement, it does feel so otherworldly.
Yeah.
And I think that that's definitely on purpose, because it's a tipping point for the whole movie, and I think it's meant to unmoor the audience's idea of what's happening, the same way that it unmoors our main family, the basement family, not the sub-basement family, because like you were saying before, Inkoo, like theirs was a mentality that like, well, nobody has it worse than us. So then when they see someone that does, or that they perceive as having it worse than them, it kind of undoes their whole worldview, and then they lash out against it.
Not only that, they almost
so
treat them like a monster, right? Like something to be vanquished. And he's even presented as this like ghost monster type of thing when he's first introduced.
The shot where he's at the top of the stairs it's a ghost shot.
Yeah.
That's a ghost shot for sure. Like,
but then you get to that scene after the flood where they're all like evacuated into, I don't know, like a school gym or something, like after they have to evacuate after the flood. And then you see like the dad who's just sort of like, the kids are like positive he has to have some sort of plan for like this poor family they've just brutalized. And the dad's just like, my plan is nothing. Like, I have no plan. And that's just like the way that you have to live sometimes. And you're like,
the best plan is no plan.
Oh, like, this sucks. Like, and also like sort of just like the moral complacency of letting this couple die because it's inconvenient to them. Like,
Yeah. I wanted to see it again because I wanted to track The Rock through Parasite, because I know that there's probably, I have a theory on what it means, but I know there's probably more meaning to it than I was realizing when I first saw Parasite. What's that rock mean? Anybody have a theory?
I read about this, but
it's about wealth, right? My theory is that it's like money can be a burden too, and like the desire for it. I mean, but I don't know. What did you read about it?
My take on it is that it's about like the dream that you'll be rich one day.
Right.
I mean, it's very similar to what you said, but I think it's even like less about money and sort of like almost like this delusion that like if you have this rock, like good things will come to you. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence, for example, that he literally gets hit on the head by like his dream, and that is sort of like what ruins him. And I think the thing that's
like murders people too.
Yeah. I mean, like, the thing that's so devastating about the ending of Parasite is just that, like, you know, he's never going to like get to there. Like, there is no ladder. Like, the entire family lives with this idea that they're going to like be able to invent this ladder into the Park's mansion, or is it the Kim's mansion? Into the mansion. And so eventually, like, I think what's really great about the movie is that, like, the audience realizes there is no ladder, but, like, this guy sort of just is going to, like, live with this delusion that, like, he's going to get there one day. And, like, does he realize that, like, there is no ladder? Like, you can't really tell, and I think that ambiguity is really beautiful. And, like, you sort of, like, hope he will realize it one day, but, like, if he gives up on the dream of, like, ever finding that ladder, then that means he has to give up on the dream of, like, reuniting with his dad. So you're just like, right. Tears.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised by the ending, like the maybe flash forward, maybe not. Yeah, it resonates with me in a lot of the ways I was thinking about America in the last few years, where it's like, you know, not to put too fine a point on it, but like the great American lie of like the quote unquote American dream of like everybody feels like they're 3 good weeks away from being a billionaire, you know, and like they think everyone in America feels entitled to that sort of thing, and it's oppressive. It's you know, to borrow a phrase from Buddhism, it's like, you know, the root of all suffering is this desire. So yeah, I think that Parasite nails that. It's hardcore.
I've actually written, I think, at least twice, like definitely in the Criterion essay, and then also I think in the Slate piece, that like I think that's like my pet theory about like why Parasite was the movie that broke through, like sort of beyond like little art house circles. I almost said outhouse, which actually would also be like a very Bong thing. But anyway, yeah. I think it's because like there is this sort of like dawning realization that like economic meritocracy for like the vast majority of Americans is not a thing, because like we don't have like a route in which like you can escape poverty, for example, through like how the country currently is, and like how shredded our social safety nets are. Not to get like too preachy, but like right. I don't think that like American movies, even American shows, like really talk about this. You know, if you look at something like Breaking Bad, which is like a show that's like very fun, but like the whole point of Breaking Bad is that if you're just like this one exceptional guy, preferably like right. a middle-aged straight white guy, and you just like are smart enough, you can become a fucking billionaire in like 5 months or whatever. Yeah. And I think there's sort of this reluctance in a lot of American pop culture to admit that like this just isn't an option. And I feel like so much of the movies is about like this one heroic anomaly. And I think what's great about Bong is he's always like, no, like the heroic anomaly is like not a thing. I can show you like a character who believes he's the heroic anomaly, but like right. in fact, like the system is against him, and most likely the system will crush him. And somehow learning that feels fun.
Have you ever seen Hell or High Water?
Yes.
Good example.
Reminds me, like this, what you're talking about, it made me think of that, because it's like there's no way out. They got to rob some banks, but it's also like payback too. But yeah, you're following these people, and it's not like glamorizing and selling you the American dream.
You know that meme where it's like you see the guy with the brain and it's kind of glowing and it's like level 1, and then the next one is like really glowing and it's like level 2, and then it's like galaxy brain. Yeah. I feel like Bong Joon Ho's at like galaxy brain level of understanding of like this kind of social dynamic, whereas like the kind of like woke on capitalism American movie is like, you've been betrayed by the American dream, like you have my movie's gonna make you realize that like you've been lied to, man. And Bong Joon Ho is like, no, man, this is the system working as it was built. Like it's built to keep you in this level. Like there is no way out. Like that's galaxy brain, is realizing like you haven't been lied to. The entire system is designed. I mean, you're being lied to as part of that system, but it's all designed for this. Anyway,
I think the American system is like, here's the bad system, but like one guy can either make it through, or he's gonna try, he's gonna fail, and he'll still have like a very pretty lady kiss him at the end. And like Bong Joon Ho, I think very deliberately will like never give you like a mission accomplished kiss. Like it's just like not what he's about. Because he's more like, well, the system will make you think that you can be the exception, but actually, like, no one can.
Right. Like, and my favorite kind of ending where it's like, you thought you were the exception, but lo and behold, you ain't. Have you guys seen Green Room?
Yes.
Green Room? You've seen Green Room, Huber?
Yeah.
Punk band runs afoul of neo-Nazis?
100%. Yeah. Did we see it together? I think we did.
We may have. Love Green Room, but the ending of that feels kind of like a Bong Joon Ho movie.
Does everyone die? It's been such a long time.
Not everyone dies.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's a good one. But I want to just spoil Memories of Murder because like, the last scene is so good. Like when he goes on the walk at the end and is just like learns some things. It's just like, oh shit. All right. Like,
has like ever a cop felt more relatable than Song in that movie? Just like a trashy dude who is like in terrible clothes, has terrible hair, taking his aggression out on people. And also like probably like a guy you can tell like signed up for the force to like do some good in the world and has just been so beaten down by the violence around him that he's just like cops. A bad person now. Wait, what?
And is like just has resigned himself to just beating people to get a confession, and he doesn't care. Like he cares about the means justify the ends, you know. He doesn't care about anything. Which is what makes The Last Shot interesting. As we wind down here, I asked the this is something I like to do when we do focused on a person episodes. Like I did the same thing for the Nicolas Cage thing, but I just asked for interesting facts about Bong Joon Ho. So I got a few that I didn't know, and I did not check these for veracity. So it's their fault if it's wrong. Takamoto Hagu says that he's best friends with Song Kang Ho, the main guy in 4 of his movies. Well, main guy in 3 and also in Snowpiercer, which is cute. I love that. Happy Gaming just mentioned, a few people mentioned that how meticulous he is about storyboarding, that he writes it out almost as like a comic that just plans everything. Parakan Core gave us 4 really good ones. They're a little long, so I'll try to sum them up. But Bong is part of the first generation of Korean filmmakers to emerge from after Korea's removal of movie censorship in the late 90s, which is why you've seen such an upswing in Korean cinema with Bong Joon Ho and Park Chan-wook and Lee Chang-dong, to name a few, where they can tackle more like graphic stuff. Shout out to The Handmaiden, that movie rules. Number 2, real life serial killer that may have inspired Memories of Murder was found through DNA testing, and he was in prison already serving a life sentence for a different murder. Not a spoiler. There are unconfirmed reports that the serial killer watched Memories of Murder 3 times when it was played on TV in the jail. Number 3, Bong had a lot of financial struggles until Memories of Murder became a hit. To sustain himself, he worked part-time shooting wedding films. Bong said that there are going to be people that still have the footage that I shot for them. I filmed really well. If the parents cried, I did a close-up. And if there was someone who looked like the groom's ex-girlfriend, I got a close-up of them too.
It's really funny.
He also called the Academy Awards a local film festival.
That was before he won, though. So
now he has much more respect.
Yeah.
He seems like a very sweet and interesting man. I don't know.
I feel like the ones who always make the darkest movies are.
Oh yeah.
Think of like
I used
horror
to
directors that just gush blood and they're so jolly. Yeah.
One of my first jobs in LA, I was the TD for for a show that about horror, and we had a lot of guests on, a lot of horror directors, and that was the through line of all these people who make like the most fucked up shit.
Yeah,
is they're all just so nice. They're just the nicest, chillest people. Then we'll just briefly hit a few of these because at the end I'd just say, like, is there anything else anyone would like us to discuss? Happy Gaming wanted to know if there are two-parter. What kind of movie would you want to see him do next, and would you want him to adapt something or not? Inkoo, you already said you don't want him to adapt anything.
I really don't want him to adapt Parasite for HBO starring Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah,
is that
about that
at danger of happening?
That's like happening. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Why? Pull a Michael Haneke and do it shot for shot, like with Funny Games.
No, it's gonna be a fucking mini series because he was like, I had so much backstory for blah blah blah. I
do like a good HBO miniseries. So who knows?
I will add a couple of fun facts to this, unless.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so one is that I forget what year this is, but it's like I'm going to say like within the last 10 years, he was actually like temporarily blacklisted from receiving funds for his movies by the South Korean government because the current South Korean president is like fine. He's like a liberal, but like the one right before him was the daughter of like one of the most brutal dictators of South Korea. He like ruled in the 60s for whatever reason, and like a make Korea great again sort of like move. Like all of the old people ushered in this like his daughter. Her name is like Park Geun-hye, and basically she's in prison now. But one of the reasons why she went to one of like the things that like led to her downfall is that she had this like consigliere essentially who just like made her do like a bunch of like corruption stuff and like claimed that like she could talk to the president's dead father and like serve as a sort of medium, and therefore would give her all sorts of like terrible advice and like charge her like really exorbitant amounts of money. Anyway, like I said, she's in prison, but her administration blacklisted 10,000 writers and directors and artists. And he was actually one of them, despite being like the biggest like name director-wise in the South Korean film industry.
Wow.
That's wild.
I did not.
So that's the thing.
His movies, they triggered.
Yeah.
Consigliere, that makes me want that triggered me. Now I want him to do a organized crime film. That's what I want.
Oh yeah.
Organized crime.
Now, you saying the romance thing, I think a romance movie would be really cool from him. That makes me think, your story made me think of On the Silver Globe by Andrzej Zulawski. Butchered that. Polish director who, like, fucking film got, like, banned. He was, like, the government's official guy and then got, like, banned, and he had to, like, sneak out of the country, and, like, he thought the film was destroyed, and so, like, his crew snuck out a couple of reels, and they like hadn't finished it, so he filmed modern day, must have been Warsaw or I'm not sure where he was at the time, but like he just filmed it and told you what was going to happen in the movie for the parts that they never got to make. Really awesome. If you could track it down and find it, it's on the Silver Globe. It's really interesting. I brought up Jorgen Moore talking about Denis Villeneuve and Bong Joon Ho. I love those guys. They have kind of
best
similarities.
In the biz. In their prime.
Zach Wojnar interviewed Jinmo Yang, who's the editor that worked with Bong Joon Ho, and had a quote from him saying, "Director Bong is not the type to go out for some coffee and then come back. He stays in the editing suite the entire time throughout the process. I can say that for Parasite especially, I don't remember him even going out for lunch or dinner when we were working together. Right from the moment he got into the suite, he would be like, let's work on this portion of the film. And then he would not go out. He would be inside with me while I would work on the portion, and he'd be in the back of the suite observing the process. It was never a separate process. We were inside together the whole time.
Crunching.
Not surprised by that.
Sounds smelly.
Super, yeah, I could smell that room for sure. And we mentioned them before, but Tokyo Slim and Varun Kachwaha both shouted out Park Chan-wook and Lee Chan-dong. Park Chan-wook, known for the Vengeance trilogy, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Old Boy, Sympathy for Lady Vengeance, and Handmaiden, one of my favorite movies of that year. That was me, not written, but maybe they like it too. And Lee Chan-dong made Poetry, Oasis, and recently Burning, which is a blind spot for me. I didn't see that one.
I love Burning so much.
I heard it was amazing. Yeah, I just haven't seen it yet. I really want to.
Stephen Young was so robbed on so many levels with that movie.
Which one? Burning?
Yes.
Yeah. I need to see it.
Huber agrees with me.
Huh?
Yeah.
I said Huber agrees with me.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Tokyo Slim also wanted to shout out a movie called Columbus by Korean-born director and Ozu disciple Kogo Nada, starring John Cho. It's about a man taking care of his comatose father in Columbus, Indiana. It's streaming on Criterion for subscribers and free on Canopy, which is a free subscription with a library card. Sounds
Never
cool.
heard of that one.
Love John Cho. He's great. Tokyo Slim also said that they saw Tenet and didn't love it.
Oh, Ian and Tokyo Slim, thumbs down.
Yeah, I don't know. It was also my first time in a drive-in ever.
If you saw it in the IMAX, would it have been better?
No. I saw it in a drive-in, which is pretty damn cool.
Some people call the IMAX a crutch. I say it's part of the experience.
Well, get this, man, because I mean, I'll read it because his statement kind of mirrors my own. Tokyo Slim says that patron saint of reaction shots, Tokyo Slim, says that they saw Tenet, and it might be the most predictable and structurally obvious Nolan film I've seen in a long time. It's well filmed, and I'm sure that there were technical challenges and such, but there's like 4 big aha moments in the movies that I'm sure look real clever on paper, but were so telegraphed that they especially become, well, yeah, duh moments. Once you find out what the plot is, there are some real obvious Nolan bait plot devices in the film that he goes for over and over again. It was just slightly disappointing, I think. Yeah. That was kind of my big takeaway from Tenet. I'm like, because like after we saw it, we were talking about it, and I was like, I understand the story now that it's done and I know everything, and like I didn't really feel lost during the movie, but like it didn't give me enough to be like to care why anyone was doing anything, and it felt like kind of rough. I don't know. Ingo, have you seen it?
No.
Whoop, my camera did everything. It feels kind of rough around the edges in a way that like some of the shots are just like amateurish and the cuts are a little rough.
Do you think the Nolan expectation played a part? Because when I saw Crimson Peak for the first time, I liked it but didn't love it, and then I watched it again like a year later, and now it's one of my favorite Guillermo movies, and I'm like obsessed with it.
Yeah, I only saw it once.
Do you think?
I think
on
that
further viewing,
I think it definitely has a lot of baggage because I was going into it kind of like peeved at it, where I was like, it's very irresponsible for you to be putting this movie out right now.
Seriously, yeah.
Like I was kind of like
delay the damn thing.
I was like, just get over yourself, dude. Like you're not going to save cinema. So like maybe I had a chip on my shoulder about it, but I don't think that really affected my read. It just kind of affected my like feeling about Christopher Nolan.
I'll see it in 2022 when it's re-released.
Just watch it on your 4K TV. It's not even that impressive.
Just watch it on your phone the way it was intended to be.
Tweet Nolan, Chris. Watching it on my phone.
Yeah. Eat shit, Chris. Paracadcore says that the Criterion Channel recently started streaming 12 Korean films from the new Korean cinema wave that started in the late 90s. It's a great place to check out the early works of some of Korea's most renowned directors. And if you'll allow me to sneak in a plug, they've recently started to review Korean films on their YouTube channel, and the channel name is K-Movie POV. Check it out. If there are any allies who like Korean cinema,
Love it.
reach out to them.
Ian, I really want you to watch The Yellow Sea. Put it on your list.
All right. Is it on Criterion Channel?
It might be.
I'll ask my Google if it's on there.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got the quote challenge from Morgan Mahala this time. But before we end, is there anything else that anybody wants to say?
I feel like we've said so much.
We have. We've been
It was
going.
really fun listening to your analysis.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, this has been great. I loved this. Okay, so usually we have a quote challenge at the end where we have some quotes, and then we try to guess what they're from. We used to all come up with one and try to stump each other, but now our patrons do it for us, and it's much easier. Morgan actually gave us the answers, so we'll be able to find out if we're right now. Tokyo Slim, when he does this, usually leaves us hanging, but they weren't able to do it this time. So, all right, the first one is, why, Johnny Ringo,
Tombstone.
you look like so... What?
Tombstone.
Yep. Tombstone, Doc Holliday. Full quote is, why, Johnny Ringo, you look like someone just walked over your grave. I gotta watch Tombstone again. Omar and I my roommate and I were talking about that just the other day. How we want to watch Tombstone again. The fun fact about Tombstone, I believe this is accurate. I think so. The son of the guy who made Tombstone is
A pizza.
Panos Cosmatos. A pizza?
Yes.
What?
Like the Tombstone pizza.
Oh.
Sorry.
You're too quick for me.
So good.
That's very funny. He's a DiGiorno.
No, his stepson's a DiGiorno.
Oh, yeah.
His daughter Celeste.
That one I don't understand.
Celeste Pizza.
I'm lactose intolerant. Anyway, Panos Cosmatos or whatever, I think, is Tombstone guy's son, who directed Beyond the Black Rainbow and Mandy. I think that's true. Maybe it's not. I don't care. This one. Yeah. I just want you to feel you're doing well. I hate for people to die embarrassed. I'll try to do his voice. I just want you to feel you're doing well. I hate for people to die embarrassed. That was not
Beauty and the
great.
Beast.
No. I made it sound too French. He's not French.
You sounded like the candle.
Yeah, I did.
I was like,
Says
Amelie?
this. A famous wrestler who's dead from my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, They Live?
No, but a great movie with wrestlers. This is from Princess Bride. Fezzik says it. Tough quote because it's hard to understand what he says in that particular line. I didn't know for a long time. 9 million terrorists in the world, and I got to kill one with smaller feet than my sister.
Die Hard.
Yeah. Madness, as you know, is a lot like gravity.
Dark Knight.
All it takes is a little push. Yep. All right. Good job, Morgan. We could go a little harder, maybe.
Yeah, those are finally got
You
some.
forgot all of that.
Yeah,
I got
usually-
none of them, so I think this is like the perfect difficulty level.
It evened out. It balances out.
Usually Ian and I are just flailing. Guessing.
Well, and then there's like one super random weird one that I know.
Yeah.
Wait, let me
yeah.
give you guys one. Just because
Awesome.
because my friend sent me this screen cap today and I loved it so much. And I feel like it's either really easy to guess or impossible, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Just give me... Okay. I know nothing about bullfighting, but a lot about desperate women.
That sounds familiar.
Bullfighting sounds so familiar. Bullfighting.
Do you want me to say it one more time?
Yeah.
I know nothing about bullfighting, but a lot about desperate women.
Oh,
What's the Bond movie with bullfighting in the beginning? Spectre.
It's not a Bond movie.
Spectre probably has no memorable quotes. I want to say.
Good, you're flailing.
What?
I said good, you're flailing.
Yeah. This is a
Oh,
good
definitely.
one.
I feel like I could. I feel like I know the color palette of this movie. It's like lots of warm tones,
Yep.
like yellows and oranges.
Yep.
I feel like it's got like Amelie vibes or like the Darjeeling Limited or something.
What's the romantic comedy with Matthew Good and Amy Adams in Ireland?
No idea.
Clearly not the answer. Moving on.
Is it Ella Enchanted?
No, but that one's good.
Oh, okay, I'll just tell you. It's actually Talk to Her by Pedro Almodóvar.
Oh,
Damn it! I was wondering if it was Almodóvar.
My co-host
that's a
just
good
sent
one.
me that screen cap, and I love that quote so much.
I've only seen Talk to Her one time, and I found it pretty disturbing.
You should.
Yeah, Skin I Live In is one of my favorite movies, so it's like, who knows where I'm coming from.
Skin I Live In is so much more disturbing.
I still have not
Yeah.
seen that.
The Skin I Live In?
I love the colors.
Yeah,
like
I've
the
not
way
seen
it's
it.
shot is just fucking so perfect to me. Which is really weird because Pain and Glory, there were shots in that I was like, why is this lit like a soap opera, Pedro? What the hell are you doing?
But he loves
But,
that.
He does kind of.
I keep thinking
then
of
it, like-
Pain and Gain. Pain movie. I keep every time like Pain and Glory. I'm like, why are they talking about a Michael Bay movie?
Okay,
Yeah,
but like,
Pain and Gain, a touching.
we
touching,
should talk about Pain and Gain because it is a fucking-tastic movie.
I never saw Pain and Gain actually.
It's fun.
It is fun.
Pain and Glory, I loved. There's a quote similar to that quote from maybe my favorite episode of Documentary Now, original cast recording co-op, where one character says, "If there's two things I know, it's women and exactly what's going to happen in the future." And I really like that quote. All right, that'll wrap it up for this month. Huge special thank you to our special guest. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
This was magnificent.
Thank you for providing me the space to talk about my second favorite director of all time.
Well, you're welcome anytime. If we ever do an Almodóvar movie episode, I will give you a call. I won't give you a call. I'll email you. But, I don't like talking on the phone.
You only have 40 years of movies to catch up on.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I've
So
seen
long.
like 6 or 7 or 8 of them, and I'm like way out of my depth.
But if you listen to our podcast, then you can know
Yes.
which are the ones to watch to get like a really good sense of his movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Plug yourself.
Plug it.
Pitch things. Where can people find you? What should they look out for? Do you have anything coming up down the road you're excited about?
No, because there's a pandemic, so excitement about the
Fair
future is actually not allowed. But
Hope is a disease. Hope is a disease.
I really actually do recommend like the two big pieces I've written about Bong Joon Ho. If you still, after this podcast, want to know more, I think those are pretty like good, cohesive, comprehensive takes on Bong Joon Ho and sort of what makes him special. And then I guess this Almodóvar podcast, which is like the opposite of this podcast in many ways, and that we really try hard to like keep every episode to like 30 to 45 minutes. No offense.
I'm sorry.
And we try to like really be good about like, what's the word? I try to be brutal about like what is sort of like the thing that you need to get about Almodóvar and his work. And so I think all of that is good. We have... I think that's it. And I guess I'm on Twitter at Inkoo Kang, INKOOKANG.
Great.
Nice.
So, key takeaways: check out the podcast, read those things, follow on Twitter, and you hated this podcast.
I am really glad that I have had an opportunity to talk about Bong Joon Ho, because I feel like I've loved that guy for like 10 years or something, and it's been so wonderful to like watch his star rise in a way I would never have anticipated in the US. It does make me a little bit afraid of like where he's going to go with this if like the HBO like remake of Parasite becomes like a thing. But yeah, I don't know. Like, honestly, it's really hard for me to like get excited about specific auteurs just because I feel like, you know, like almost every artist has like a hit or miss sort of thing. And Almodóvar and Bong are just like two people I will never not be excited about.
Absolutely.
That's it though. Only two.
I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, there aren't that many truly great things. You made me realize that Bong Joon Ho is at the risk of becoming his own subject matter if he like sells out to capitalism.
Hopefully the Parasite adaptation is just a unique thing because like you were
sure.
saying he had so much backstory with it. So just like an outlet to get all that story out, I wonder.
But if it's in English, it'll be like a cartoonish nightmare, so who knows?
And also I think Adam McKay is executive producing. You know, our great chronicler of economic issues in America, Adam McKay.
Speaking of economic issues, you can support us at patreon.com/easyallies. And on patreon.com/easyallies, if you're in the $7 or up tiers, you are part of the Easy Allies Film Club. You can put in your comments to be included in this very podcast. I usually post the discussion topic about a week or two before we shoot. And it's the lifeblood of this damn series. Thank you so much. We also have at our $250 tier the shout-outs. And this month, our shout-outs are Elthanis, Greg, The Dark Knight Kettering, Caleb, Togi Crawford, and Nick. Shout out. But yeah, that's going to do it. We'll be back next month. Thank you both so much. Bye.